Welcome back to Toolbox Talks. I'm joined today by Shaun Dunn from SD Plumbing and Heating. Shaun's built a very reputable business across Edinburgh and the Lothians. 1.6 million last year?
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Just shy of that, yeah.
And gunning for 2.4 this year.
Next year.
Class. So looking forward to just deep diving into, how it all started.
Yeah.
And probably your biggest lessons to date as well.
Oh, there's been a few of them.
Take me back to, obviously, how did you get into plumbing here?
I think it's like quite a generic how a tradesman got into the business.
Yeah.
My dad was a plumber, my uncle was a plumber, my granddad was a plumber, so I always wanted to be a plumber. I used to work with my dad when I was like on the school holidays and stuff like that. Then I finished my last exam, he picked me up for school, and that was it. I've been a plumber ever since.
Yep.
So I done my apprenticeship with my dad. That was grueling. Worked me hard.
How did you find working with your dad?
I actually feel sorry for him, to be honest, because it was painful. I was late every day. Still rough for the weekend most of the time.
Yep.
No willing to learn. I put him through it. Then it was a hard time, but then I started to. As I got over the apprenticeship, I actually failed my gas exam the first time as well.
Oh, did you?
I had to phone him and tell him that.
It's your agent.
Wasn't happy.
No.
I half expected it as well though.
Aye.
My apprenticeship, I didn't learn a lot, to be honest, because
No.
my head was in the clouds.
Like just turning up looking for a wage.
Aye, exactly. Just thinking of the weekend and stuff like that. So just a silly young laddie.
How did you at what point did that change?
Probably when I started doing homework, I would say.
Yep.
And I started to having to I always remember going to a job, and I used to use that rated people. So you would buy a job,
Like a Bark or Yale type.
Aye, that's
Yep.
how I pretty much started.
Yep.
I would buy a job, and I remember it was a toilet system was leaking. So I went and I thought I fixed it, went away.
Thought I fixed that.
And the woman phoned me and she said, Shaun, the system's still leaking, but we don't have any gas in the house. I'm like, I don't know how you've any gas. I didn't touch anything to do with gas.
So there was one problem when you went and two when you left.
I've treated two. So it turns out I went, I've not really known what I'm doing. I'm just turning off all the valves. I've turned off the gas and the stair to the full property.
Yep.
They've had to get SGN out and they've still got the leak. So I would say that's when I started learning, when I started having to fix my mistakes myself.
Yep.
Whereas before, I was always just I would say someone would pick up after me and I didn't have to think for myself. So I think when you have to start thinking for yourself, that's when you start picking things up.
It's like, there's always someone there to pick up your mistakes, basically.
Aye, wipe your arse.
Aye, well, to put it like that. Did you have any? So at what point, obviously, was that the point where you were kind of thinking maybe I could do this for myself, or was it just a case it was just a wee bit extra money at that point? Or?
Aye, it just kind of come So my dad went down to, when the recession kicked in actually, in 2018, he went down to 4 days a week.
Yeah.
Just to try and condense the work and keep us busy throughout the 4 days. So I found myself with this Friday for myself. And at the start I was just bored, what do I do with myself? All my mates are working and stuff like that. Then I passed my tests and stuff. And I always remember I was absolutely skint. I didn't have a van. I had a licence, but I didn't have a van or that.
Yep.
And I got a notification on my phone saying the banks had authorised a £900 overdraft. And I thought, 900 quid? I was perfect. So I went straight to the bank that afternoon after work.
Well, one that you applied for, or they just automatically slapped on an overdraft?
You've got an overdraft. So I was I'll accept that.
Buzz in.
Took the overdraft, went to the bank, took the whole 900 quid out,
Yep.
and went and bought a Ford Transit. And that was my first van. It was horrible, rust everywhere. It was white with black wheels. I think they were just spray painted as well. So I went and bought this van. Then on a Thursday, I would get on that rated people,
Yep.
and just start picking up jobs.
How much was it costing you to buy a job on it? Back then?
£12 for just the wee ones, changing taps, and
how much were you getting roughly off it?
I would get 80 or 90 quid back. So I'd be getting I could make my week's wage on the Friday. And that's sort of how it started.
Yep.
I would just going to people all week, booking the jobs for the Friday, or at nights. I was by that point I was kind of a workaholic. I would work all the time. The shifts we would do with my dad would be 7 in the morning till 11 at night sometimes.
Yep.
So just basically working all the time. And I think that's where I got the drive from, and like the hard working mentality.
Did you do a lot of like reactive stuff like through the night?
Mainly reactive.
Was it?
To start with it, yeah, all reactive. Then as time went on, like you get the bigger jobs and stuff like that. But
Yep.
I feel like this is where a lot of smaller businesses go wrong that are just starting out. Like the only tool you have when you're a one-man band, a young one-man band, is you're cheap. You're cheaper than everybody else.
Yep.
And I feel like people nowadays, they start a business and they're like, they want to charge the same as like what we're charging now.
Yep. Aye.
But you've got that tool, so just be cheap, undercut everybody.
You've not got the overheads to pay for anyway.
I remember I done a heating system. I done it at the weekend with my mate. Like it took us 2 days, grueling, like long shifts. At the end of it, I remember standing in the kitchen. We'd done the heating system, all the floors were up, flat was a mess. Put it all back together. Standing in the kitchen, I was like, right, that's for my mate. That's for the merchants. Then I had 500 quid for myself. And I thought it was like the best thing ever. But then you just tuck it away because you don't have any overheads. And that's the time you need to build your client base because you can be so cheap.
And just build a reputation as well.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like you can't try and do it all at once, especially if you're like younger and just doing it on the side or whatever. Like, use that as a tool, I think.
Yeah. Do you come up against situations like that now, where it's like you get one-man bands trying to quote somewhere in the region of what you guys are quoting?
Yeah.
Aye.
Quite a lot.
That's
Or
mental.
you'll try and use like a subcontractor that's a one-man band, and they're trying to charge you what you're charging the customer.
Yep.
And it's like we all need to.
Everybody needs to eat.
Yeah.
Aye.
Exactly. So I think like if you're starting out, that's a solid bit of advice, just to chill and like the money will come, but you need to get the clients first.
Yep.
And think about this is a customer as well that I could keep, not just see it as just one single job.
Aye, especially in your game as well, where you can get repeat custom as well.
Aye.
With your dad, was there kind of like a natural progression where he kind of stepped back, and then like how did that look?
That was a funny one, because as I started to get more and more work, we would sort of like, we would do work together. So I'd be like, oh, I've got this job. Then like we would both do it together, and we'd split the money.
Yep.
But then we would do that for like a few weeks. Then we'd go into his job, and I'd get a wage again. And I was like,
something's not adding up.
yeah, I was like, I've just literally give you like half my annual salary in a few weeks.
Yep.
Then you're handing me a few hundred quid. I'm like, right, we need to either go into partnership in some way, shape or form, or I need to just go.
Yep.
And obviously I just
You go
went.
for the latter.
Yeah, I just went myself.
Yep. So what? Obviously, you've went yourself at that point. Like, what are you thinking at that point? Is it like, I'm going to build a business, or is it this is just more money than what I was?
So by that point, I had already built up quite a big client base on the Friday, and I was still using all the apps to get the work.
Yep.
So it kind of got to the point that I couldn't not work for my dad. I couldn't work for my dad anymore. It was impossible because I was too busy.
Yep.
So I thought, I'll take the leap. And it wasn't something I took lightly, because it was my old man. I didn't want to betray him or like anything like that. So I didn't do it until I was like 28, 27, something like that.
Yep.
Whereas like, if it wasn't my dad, I think I would have done it a lot younger.
Earlier, aye. Yep.
So I eventually took the leap, but like I say, by that point I already had like an okay client base, was in like with our letting agents and stuff. And I literally remember phoning, so I told my dad we were in Dubai, and I plucked up the courage, actually text him saying like, I'm not coming back, blah, blah. Then I phoned my cousin and said, do you want to come and work for me on Monday? And he was like, what? I was like, well, I went myself, do you want to come and work for me? And he was like, yeah, no worries.
What did he do?
Just labour. So it was just me and him in the van, just going about, doing jobs. I felt like the first 2 years we lived in the van. We would go out in the van at 6 in the morning and come home at 9 at night, 7 days a week. I would have every second Sunday off to see the missus. And that was it. But I think that's what you need to do at the start as well.
Aye, this just comes back to that thing, balance as well. When everybody's like, you need to have balance, but it's like there is a period in time where it's just not even possible.
No, work-life balance at the start. When you're trying to build the business, build the foundations. you can't have balance.
Yep.
You need to just be all in, or you're never going to get anywhere. I think anyway. And if you do, you're fortunate.
Aye, definitely. And what was there any focus on actually building anything within that first 24 months, or was it just a case of get in the van and just do as much work as we humanly can?
So, like me scaling the business, it just came naturally. I never had any plan. We just got really busy, and I thought, like, we need to do something else here.
Yep.
So the reason I got my second van is the first van, actually.
How long did the 900 quid van last?
Oh, that was long gone by then. The reason I got the second van, I think we had just finished a big job, and Jamie's staying in Livingston, so I was like, Jamie, you take the van home. And I was a member at the Sheraton in Edinburgh at the time. I was like, know what we'll do in the morning? I was like, we've been knocking a pan in. I was like, come and pick me up. We'll go for a Sheraton, chill in the spa. And I said, we'll have a nice, easy, chilled Friday. And what did he do? He phoned me at like 7 in the morning. I was like, I've just crashed the van. I was like, you are joking.
When did you buy it?
Oh, about a year prior to that.
Right,
so
okay.
He smashed the van up on this nice, easy Friday that we're supposed to be having. So what? He got through to ours. We got the van recovered and all that. And we were getting taxis around all the van garages in Edinburgh to try and buy a van.
Yep.
We went down Seafield, managed to get a van. So that's how I ended up with my second van. Not through choice, just because he smashed it up. So we needed another one while that was getting fixed, and that's how I ended up with it. So like scaling always just came because I had to.
Do you feel it like obviously you do different stuff now, but do you feel it's just been very like organic?
To start with?
Aye.
Like 100%. Like we built the website and stuff like that, but I would say the first couple of years it was all just like word of mouth or using the apps.
Yep.
I didn't know anything about marketing or.
When did you incorporate again? Because obviously you would have been sole trader before that. When
2019.
2019.
Just before COVID.
Yep. And do you feel like those early stages? What is there anything that you feel that trading home improvement business owners overcomplicate? Obviously, you mentioned there with the pricing thing, but do you feel there's anything else that they overcomplicate in that period of time?
I wouldn't say overcomplicate. I'd more say like they certainly make life harder for themselves.
Yep.
In a sense of not using the tools that are there for you. Like, for example, I used to just work out a diary, and I always laugh. I've still got these diaries to this day, and I look at them and they're just like a mess.
Chaos.
I remember looking, so I would always sit on the night before and sort out the diary for the next day, and I would write down like John Boiler Service, and I'm like, who is John?
John.
Like I've just
no address, no postcode.
John Boiler Service, racking my brains. Who's John? And like just stuff like that. Whereas if I knew about CRM systems, stuff like that, it just transforms your life.
Yep.
It makes it so much easier.
It's so simple as well, but again, it gives you peace of mind that the information's there, that you're not going to forget it, and also other people can access it.
Yeah,
because they can't access it if it's sitting in your diary. So you kind of got to that point. What are the kind of non-negotiables at that point that you feel businesses should have in place before they try and ramp it up?
So a non-negotiable is, like, my personal opinion is, like, people are just allowed to go into company's house, pay £10 and open a business. Anybody with no business experience. So one of my biggest mistakes was not having the right accountant in place, because that just makes your life hell. Makes it so stressful. So that would be... When
you say not the right accountant, what do you just mean the accountant that you pay the fee and then they literally do your books at the end of the year, but they didn't actually help you with any of the numbers, save money, anything like that?
Yeah, and you don't know anything, so you don't know any better. They're telling you to hand the bag of receipts over. You're doing that. You're getting a tax bill through the door. You've not prepared for it. You never knew it was coming. And I think that's what made the early years for me very, very difficult.
Aye, it's like, I guess it's turbulence as well when you know the tax bill's coming, but you've not got a clue what it is.
Yeah.
You're thinking what you need to have in the bank.
Aye. You didn't know how to prepare for it. I feel like you just need to educate yourself on that side of it, because I just it was sink or swim for me. I just opened a business and started working and didn't really know anything about business.
Yep.
And I think now there's so much out there, whereas before, like, there's loads of like coaches and all that, but before there wasn't much of that. So I think just utilise the information that's in front of you.
Aye, definitely, it wouldn't have been as easily accessible back then.
No.
It would have been a case of you would have had to seek out a trade business owner doing a certain amount in revenue and then ask them to basically help you. So where would you say was the first point in revenue where you kind of feel like you hit a ceiling?
50 grand.
50 grand a month.
I always remember it because
it's always I always say that it seems to be somewhere in the region of 500 to 600 grand a year where everything starts to crumble if you've not got the right things in place.
Yeah, so like I would get 46 grand a month, 47 grand a month, 48, and I was like, I just cannot hit 50 grand.
Yep.
What's going on? I think by that point I had like a few vans, 5 guys, and I'm just like, but it was still a mess.
Mm-hmm.
I was still doing everything myself, selling the tools. In fact, at one point when I was there, I didn't even have a van. So I gave the van to the boys and they would pick me up in the morning because I thought that made sense. Like I would always just try and put the business first.
Yep.
So yeah, gave them like 50 grand, could not hit it. Then I saw Trade Mastermind on like Facebook or Instagram or whatever. Joseph Valenti. Went to hit one of his courses, and I was speaking to like the guys in the room and stuff, and like they were saying stuff, and that's when they mentioned the CRM.
Yeah.
What's a CRM? So that's when I
it's one of them that you don't know what that. Exactly.
Found out about the CRM, so I implemented that. Then we were talking about how do you turn over more? How do you create more in the business? And the guy I was speaking to said, just double your prices. I was like, what? Double your prices? I'm like, I'll have no work. He was like, trust me, double your prices. I was like, I don't know about this. So like at the time I was charging £50 a call charge.
Yep.
All the way up the road, I'm like, I can't double my prices. Folk will have a heart attack.
Yep.
You can't do that. The other thing was use card machines, because at this point as well, I had no way tracking invoices. So I'd go and do a boiler service or whatever, send the invoice,
forget about
it. Hope I got paid.
Aye.
So to get card machines and take the payment on the day. I remember driving up the road, my mate was driving, so I downloaded Tradeify, ordered card machines, and essentially doubled my prices, and it worked. And I was like, so simple.
Did the volume of work drop?
Nah. Nobody batted an eyelid.
Aye.
Also,
had you started to build a brand in that at this point?
Yeah. So I started to get a bigger volume of work.
Aye. So that's probably the key thing with that as well. Obviously, you kind of need to have that reputation in place to just go, well, like, I'm going to double the prices.
Yeah. Aye. But you need to. That's where going back to, if you're just starting out, you need to be cheap, but you need to then change it when you start getting overheads. Whereas I kept it cheap for too long, not realising that
it's affecting the profit margins as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't think there was any profit.
I was going to ask you that a minute ago. I was going to say at the 50 grand, what were you making in profit?
I don't know. I never knew my numbers.
Aye.
So you're lucky if I was making anything.
How much are you paying yourself?
I was just taking it out willy-nilly when I need money.
Brilliant. So you hit the ceiling there, you've put the CRM in place. The systems piece is interesting because again it's like you can increase capacity with systems. You didn't necessarily need to bring in more people.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just need better processes.
So that was one thing that sticks with me as well. And I remember sitting at my desk with all my post-it notes, my diary. This is one thing that I always struggled with. Like, how can I grow this business if I can't handle all the work I've got?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you need to be able to. You can only grow as much as you can grow internally.
Yep.
So I was like, I need to get all this sorted out. So like I was saying before we jumped on, another turning point for me was I paid £500 to go on a call with someone.
Yep.
For an hour. And I was like, they're like, what's your biggest issues? Blah,
who
blah, blah.
who was it? Just out of interest, who was
it
the
was Rachel
person?
Oliver.
Right,
It was
okay.
like a business coach thing.
Yep.
I went to one of her events and got speaking to her, and then jumped on the call with her. And she was like, what's your biggest issues? And I was like the admin. I was like, I'm drowning in admin constantly. No matter how much I do, I'm I'm drowning in it. I would go home at night, have my dinner, then lock myself in the office, trying to keep on top of it.
Yep.
But I can't afford someone full time. She was like, just get a VA. I'm like, but I can't get a VA because it's all a mess. Like, what? How are they going to know what's going on? She was like, they'll sort it for you. I was like, well then. They're like, that's what they're there for.
Yeah.
They'll get the systems and processes in place. And I was like, right, cool. She recommended a few VAs.
What year was this?
Probably
Because VAs have not really been like...
4 years ago.
Aye, yeah. Because before that they weren't like widely recognised as a role.
So probably about 4 years ago. So I was like, right, I'll get a VA. Recommended the VA.
Mm-hmm.
I gave them a call and it was like £1,500 a month. I was like, that's quite steep for like...
For how many hours? Was that a full time?
30 hours or something.
30 hours. Mm-hmm.
Aye. So went with them anyway. And the first thing was sorting my emails because I never deleted any emails.
Yep.
40,000 emails, missing jobs, so cleared all that, sorted that out. Then they sort of started to build the systems and processes like a
Yep.
little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't the best, but better than what I had.
Yep.
So yeah, that was a sort of turning point.
Yep.
Then you soon grow out a VA.
What do you think the mindset is there when you're looking at that VA and you're going, right, it's 1,500 quid, fuck, I can't afford that. Like, because I think a lot of, and it's not just a trade or home improvement issue, it's like most people when they're hiring, they don't actually calculate the ROI on the hire.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, whereas that person's not going to like directly make you more money, it's going to buy you back more time
Yeah.
to then potentially go and quote more or whatever it might be as well.
But it's like the chicken and egg scenario.
Mm-hmm.
And I still have this to this day, and I think you're always going to have this in business. If you're hiring a back-end person that's not actively going out and making revenue in return,
Yep.
how can you measure that?
It's not that easy to measure.
It's no measurable at all. It's all about time, like you say. What are you getting out of it? And every time I've made a hire like that, the business has transformed and moved forward every single time. Unless it's a bad hire, but that's another matter.
To be fair, a good example of like someone in the office that you can very easily measure an ROI on is somebody that's just basically there to take the leads.
Yeah.
Pick up the phone to the leads and phone.
100%.
Because it's like if that increases your booking rate for 33% to 66%, and your sales conversion rate stays the same, you double the revenue.
Yeah.
But you're maybe only going to pay that person, like they're maybe not getting paid that much, but like in terms of revenue, it just looks completely different.
But then I think that's educating yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Like I used to just watch YouTube videos on like business and how to scale and stuff like that constantly because it's free.
Yeah.
You just need to try and soak all that up. Then, but the very important thing is you need to implement it.
Yeah.
Because everybody's knowledgeable, but you need to then implement it into the business.
It's like reading a book. Mark Murray was in here earlier and he spoke about like there's too many people just read books, but you just read for the sake of reading, but never actually put in place what was in the book.
So what I do quite a lot, I'll read and then I stop because I'm like, right, I need to implement what was in that book, or if I read the book, then I'll listen to the audio book, take notes, implement it into the business, and like just simple stuff like that that's free can transform your business, I think.
Yep. Do you feel like, obviously you went into the trade mastermind thing, was that like your first exposure to like anything like that?
Yeah.
Aye.
I'd never done anything like that before. I never knew anything like that existed.
What were you thinking when you're driving back up in the car?
I thought it was like life changing. I thought it was brilliant at things like this. There were other people in the same boat, and you could talk to them about that, and you could speak to someone that's already done it.
Yep.
It's not a new thing you're trying to do. I think that's quite important as well.
99 times out of 100, what you're doing, somebody else has done it before anyway, so regardless of what it is.
Get advice and follow in their footsteps.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So then you put that in place. How did that? What impact did that have on the business at that point when you put that in place?
So we went from a WhatsApp chat where, like I said, I'd be in that office every night, and I'd say like, Kevin and Jamie, there's your 5 jobs for the day in the WhatsApp chat, blah blah blah, and I'd do it like that to then going on to Tradeify when I got home. And I remember setting Tradeify up, in the dining room, and I was doing it, and I started losing the head because I was like, this is taking forever. I was like, it's taking me like 10 minutes to put a job in where I can just write it in my diary and it takes 2 seconds.
Yep.
And my missus was like, just calm down. She was like, just bear with it, and you'll get there. So I did, and eventually I got used to it, and it transformed the business. I think we doubled in revenue. Doubled in revenue basically.
Without making many more
Well,
hires, or how many guys did you need?
We doubled the price, got Tradify, and we certainly added on like 30-40k worth of revenue. So
nice.
Without making any hires.
Again, that's the beauty of systems, but again, it's like it's not the shiny stuff. It's not the stuff that people want to be doing, but it's the stuff that's like basically it's foundational for scaling.
It's not buying the new van or hiring the new staff member.
You can't flex it on social media.
No, exactly.
Nobody cares about your system.
Exactly. I've been there so many times. I'm like, I just need to stop. And that was one of the times. Stop what I'm doing, and just fix everything that's wrong inside the business. And that was what I done last year as well.
Yep. So that, obviously you've identified that as a point that happened. When did that happen again?
In terms of?
Just in terms of revenue, obviously if that's happened at 500 to 600 grand, what point did you get to again where it's like you've encountered the new ceiling, basically?
Probably about 90 to 100.
Yep.
Something like that.
So you're pushing $1 million, just over $1 million.
Yeah.
Yep.
Then again, you just need to stop and find out what's going wrong and fix it all inside.
Yep.
And then you can take a bit of a hit, so you feel like you're going backwards as well.
Yep.
Especially if you're building momentum, like adding guys to the team and stuff like that. That feels good.
Yep.
But fixing all the stuff inside doesn't feel that good. It's quite a slog, and it's like you don't feel like you can't see the benefits straight away. You're going to see the benefits in 2 months' time. So you're not getting any instant gratification.
Yep.
But I think that's the most important stuff.
Yep. And how did you encounter any issues in terms of building a team, having to develop yourself as a leader?
I still am.
Aye.
100%. And building a team's like one of the hardest things. Because to start with, like I said, I've hired my cousin, hired my mates, hired family, hired anybody I knew that could pick up a tool. So you're just surrounded by all your mates. No one really respects you as a boss.
Yep.
You're telling them to do stuff, like, whatever, Shaun, then you're maybe in the pub with them on the Friday night, and you've just got a completely different relationship with them. So I find building a team very, very difficult.
What does that look like now? Obviously, if back then you had loads of people in the business that you knew, is that like completely different now, or?
Yeah, the only person still with me is my brother.
Yep.
He's been with me since the start, and that has its challenges still.
Yep.
But yeah, he's a good lad. But now it's mostly people I don't know at all.
Yep.
And I feel that's the best way.
Makes sense. And then even in terms of obviously the hiring, the building a team, what were the kind of first key hires beyond obviously guys doing the jobs that helped you? Obviously you had the VA. Was there anything else that you brought in beyond that?
So the VA was probably the key one. Then after it got too much for the VA, my father-in-law actually got made redundant.
Were you still on the tools when you had the VA? Aye.
I was still on the tools.
Yep.
Still up on the tools up to 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago. Then my father-in-law got made redundant, and he was like, I'm in between jobs for this period of time. Do you want to help? Like, just, I don't know, doing whatever. I was like,
yep.
That could be pretty good. So got rid of the VA. He came in, we'd be sitting in the spare room or the kitchen on the laptop, and it was quite hard to give him things to do because I had always just done it myself.
Yep.
So he was sitting there and he was like, what do you want me to do? I was like, I've got this big list of invoices I think come due. And he was like, all right, give me them, I'll try and phone them. So I was like, right, I'll go and get it. There you go. I was over 100 grand worth of unpaid invoices on a spreadsheet.
Over what time period? Months
and probably years. I was like, I don't know if I'm actually who's due me what or what's going on, but I was like, you can maybe try and chase him. He's like, wow, this is nuts. And then he saw by this point the emails were a mess again. Everything was quite all a mess. So I was doing it all myself.
Yep.
I think I'd left the VA for a while, so he came in and just having an extra set of eyes on things, and it gives you a different perspective. That was quite powerful as well.
Yep.
And he obviously wasn't in the trades, so
He's maybe looking at things differently as well.
yeah, no, it was really good.
Yep. And did you, obviously you got to the point where you come off the tools. What point in revenue is that, roughly?
Probably about like 700 mark.
Yep.
Maybe
Did
less.
you struggle with that?
Big time.
In what sense?
I felt like I wasn't doing anything. You know what I mean? I wasn't doing enough.
Yep.
You're used to knocking your pan in, working so hard physically to answering the phone, doing emails, and because we were working in the house, I was floating about the house, making myself coffee. I'm like, I felt like I was cheating the business because I wasn't doing enough.
Yep. You never felt busy enough, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And I found that really difficult to start with, but you soon get used to it and soon realise that what you're doing is benefiting
Yep.
the business.
And how did your role change? Obviously, you've came off the tools. How did your role change at that point? What were you doing? Were you aware of what you should be doing, or was it a case of?
I was just doing surveys, managing the job, ordering the products, doing the emails, booking in the jobs. It's everything that didn't require lifting a tool.
Yeah.
And sometimes I would still jump on the job. That's one thing.
Did you do it? I spoke to Mark about this earlier.
Yeah.
I said, like, did you like doing it? He was like, I fucking loved it. So it's like he always wanted, because he was a practical person, it's quite uneasy for him to come out of that situation and go, basically be off the tools as well.
And I get, to this day, this is one of my flaws, I keep getting dragged back into different roles that I shouldn't be doing anymore. Because like you want to be involved in everything, and for the first couple of years, just say we were short of like an engineer or that, just chuck my work clothes on and go and do it. But I find that is very important to get away from. You need to manage that situation without fixing it yourself.
Yeah. Why do you say that?
Because you should be focusing on what you need to be focusing on. Like even right now, I've got a project manager, but I'll pick up the phone and start project managing his jobs.
Yep.
Then he's like, I've already phoned that person, then I've phoned them, and it's just so messy.
Just cross wires, yeah.
Yeah. If you can just step back and let the cogs turn and let people do their jobs, I think it works so much better.
Yeah. Do you feel like that was a turning point for you when you kind of recognised that?
Yeah, definitely. Don't get me wrong, like I say, that was like only a few months ago I was still doing that.
Yep.
Like you still slip into old habits, but it's about recognising it and trying to stop it.
Aye, because I guess as well, it's like if there is an error or an issue that happens, if you choose to step in and fix it instead of choosing to take the time and work out how to make sure it doesn't happen again, ultimately you're just going to be in that vicious cycle of continuing to step back in and step onto the tools.
And at the long game, you won't have a business that can run without you. So if you're constantly firefighting, putting out all the fires, what happens when you go on holiday? And that's what a big problem I had. You go a week holiday and it just turns to dust.
Yep.
Because you're not there fixing all the problems.
What was your experience of that? Because again, I'd imagine there's a lot of people listening that they've maybe tried to go on holiday, or the missus has maybe forced them. And what was your experience of that? Obviously, earlier on when you never had this much.
Well, I would always take my phone to start with. So you never really had a holiday.
Yep.
You'd be sitting by the pool on your phone, customers phoning, booking in jobs. Yeah, you never really had a break, really. Then the first time I sort of had a holiday, I would leave the phone with one of the guys.
Yep.
Never had any experience booking in jobs, dealing with emails. They're still doing a bathroom. So now they've got a phone that's ringing off the hook, trying to do their job, and they're stressed out. So that was kind of the first time I wouldn't say switched off because they were on the phone all the time. But the first time I left the work phone and tried to switch off, but again, you're still working.
Yep. How do you? When did you have kids? What age were you?
I think the year I went myself actually.
Is that when? So you've literally since the start.
But a year after that.
Yeah. How have you managed that? Like in terms of making sure that you're spending enough time with them. Again, I think that's probably something I struggle with. Is like you're trying to find that balance of how am I present enough, but also how do I put in enough work to make sure that they're taken care of. And
still struggle with that, to be honest. And I think a lot of business owners will.
Yep.
you want to be there for them, you want to be present. You walk in the door, then the phone starts going and stuff like that. So I still struggle with that massively.
Yep.
Even on holiday, the first couple of days, I'll switch off. Then I start getting itchy feet, and I'm looking at the emails and I'm getting involved, and that's one of the hardest things I think to switch off completely.
Do you think it's just like a habit thing?
How do you find it? Do you switch off?
We went to Dubai a couple of years ago, and it's when Alfie was maybe, I can't remember what age he was. It was just before the point where you need to start paying for them to get
so
on the
like
plane.
one and a bit.
But it was a nuke because he was literally just before he needed a plane seat. So he was big enough for a plane seat, but he was just bombing up and down the airplane. I found I struggled for the first couple of days, and then I was like, right, well, nothing's crumbled yet. I can maybe start to relax. But then I guess my business model is very different to yours.
Yeah.
Where it's like ours is built on recurring revenue, and like as long as we've done our job properly to make sure that the ads continue to generate the leads, it's not always like a day-to-day firefighting type thing. But certainly I struggle with that. But I think it's also like a habit thing where it's like you're so busy. Like Christmas for me was like, that makes me uneasy.
Yeah.
Because I'm in such a routine and a habit of coming, working, going home. Like I know what I'm doing. Like I don't cope very well if I've not got a routine.
How do you find when you go home switching off? Are you quite good at that? Or?
Nah. But I do think as well. I think like you, and I'm not saying I'm the best at this, but certainly like there is things that you can do to be more present.
Yeah.
Like leave your phone in the car when you get back.
Yeah.
Didn't pick it up until the kids go down or whatever it might be.
I've turned off notifications for pretty much every single app on my phone, including my work emails. So like you don't see it, but that's one thing I want to try and do is get in. There's only two hours of that.
It's keeping on top of it though, because again, it's so easy for you to slip back into like something goes wrong. I don't know. I think it's making time, and again, it's something I need to work on. But making time between leaving work to go and do something before you go back to the house.
Yeah. Because
I think if you've not even got like that 30 minutes or whatever to just kind of like decompress, you just take the stress back into the house as well, and everybody else feels it as well.
Yeah, definitely. So I started recently taking the wee man to school. Mm-hmm. Obviously, state
in the mornings.
Yeah.
Yep.
But he starts school at 10 to 9. All my boys start at 8.
Yep. So
that period, 8 o'clock goes, all the chaos starts. Mm-hmm. And I'm finding it's just like I'm probably making the household worse because I'm getting caught up in work. So again, I need to learn just to be like, this is the time I'm spending with the kids. Just switch off. Because you're a better person when you're switched off as well.
Yeah, definitely. It's just getting to the point where you are actually.
I done good at Christmas there. I think my screen time was like an hour and a half.
Yep.
As opposed to 9 hours or whatever it is.
Yep. Even at that, do you still feel like you struggle to stop thinking about the business? Yeah. Yes, you're not on your phone, but like your mind still somewhere else?
All the time.
Aye.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. I think everybody's the same as well.
Yeah.
So obviously you're done 1.6 last year. What did you put in place to get from that kind of like ceiling point from 500 to 600 grand a year, where again you're putting systems in place? What did you start to put in place marketing wise?
So
or did it grow very organically
It grew organically till about like the million mark. Mm-hmm. And I felt like that was quite a ceiling as well.
Yep.
Then when we started doing the marketing online, with yourself actually.
Yeah, because you've done Google ads previously to that.
Always, pretty much always had a website, Google ads, Google guaranteed.
Did you invest in any SEO at any point?
Yeah, always like that's with the website. Always done SEO, like keeping that ticking over. Always done that kind of thing, but never had a presence on social media ever. I always just thought it was a waste of money.
Yep.
Because I've always boosted my posts sometimes.
Aye.
And it's like
so
your mum will like it, and like your auntie
sends it to all the wrong people.
Yeah. So like I was like, oh, it's just a waste of time. Who's buying on Facebook? And I saw Derek's ads.
Yep.
Like when he first started, and I was like, he's everywhere. Like you're literally seeing him everywhere, and it just creates like such a professional brand.
Yep.
then I was like, right, I'll try that. And that's when the revenue just went through the roof.
Mm-hmm.
Then we had another problem
Yep.
that we couldn't handle
Too much
all the
work.
leads.
Aye.
So
Yep.
it's like, all right, now we need to fix this.
Well, you got kicked to the side.
You're doing a really good job, but it's too good.
Too much work.
So-
What was it? So what did that look like? How many months did you get booked up with the bathrooms?
Till now, January.
So that was
That was
like 5
5 or 6 months worth.
5 months. So how many
Well-
bathrooms was that a month then?
We're doing about 4 a month,
Aye.
if not more, because we had subbies and stuff as well. So it was a lot,
Yep.
and it was just too much.
Yep.
And our service was dropping. Customers weren't getting the right.
Aye, again, it's that point. There isn't any point in just continuing to feed the machine if it's like you can physically see stuff breaking. It's like
Yeah.
you need to take a step back and fix it.
Exactly. So that was it. Like,
So what was the main issue then? Did you just need more boys to do the bathrooms, or was it like the project management of them, or what was the
project
problem?
manager. Like, I'm a huge bottleneck in my business.
Mm-hmm.
So because I'm doing the marketing, all the stuff back end, doing all the surveys, then trying to organise all the jobs, I was just bottlenecking everything. Like one of the main fitters, Dan, that's now the project manager, was like, mate, I can't keep going like this. He was like, I'm turning up to a job, I'm having to ask the customer what I'm doing.
Yep.
The stuff is turning up, I've not got a clue what's going on. It was like, it's just.
So what was the issue with that? And obviously, you said you're the bottleneck there. Is it that you've not got the processes in place? Is it the systems? What is it?
Processes, I'm just like, book it in on Tradify, order the products,
Yep.
right, crack on with that. No, like, with what?
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's nothing, no schedule, no drawings.
Yep.
We've just got a bunch of products in a bathroom,
Yep.
and that's it, or whatever job we're doing. So it was about slowing down, which we done. It took about 6 months to do this.
Yep.
Slowed the whole thing down, and just, right, what do we need to do to fix this?
Yep. What did you learn through that? What were the main kind of takeaways through the pain of that and having to put the solutions in place?
I was going to say don't bite off more than you can chew, but I think that's how you push through these things as well. I think just learning to just slow down a little bit.
Yep.
And it's not all about, everyone wants to scale, but you need to scale in a certain way, or you're going to scale and burn.
Yep. I think a lot of people think you just scale on sales as well.
Yeah.
But again, they never really think about the back end
Well, that's
stuff.
what I thought when I first started marketing. I was like, oh, we're going to smash this. I was like, look at all this work coming in. How could we fail?
Mm-hmm.
Like, but you do. You see the leads. You're getting the leads. You're getting the jobs. What could possibly go wrong?
Yep.
You can't actually do the jobs.
Aye, and then you start to ruin your reputation and that as
and
well.
it doesn't take much to ruin your reputation as well.
Yep.
Someone always said to me, a good job goes far, and a bad job goes even further. If someone's going to talk to you, talk about the person that came in and ruined their house or whatever.
Aye, people are like negative bias as well. They're more likely to speak about a bad experience than
Yeah.
a good experience.
Exactly.
It's almost like they expect like when they buy from you, they're expecting a good experience.
Especially when you're perceiving yourself as this amazing brand and
Yep.
you're this and you're that. You need to deliver on that.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just be in that sales appointment telling them all this good stuff, getting them excited, then delivering a bad job.
Yep.
They almost feel more let down because you've told them all this. They would have been better going with the guy on Facebook.
Yep. Aye, you basically sold them a dream.
Yeah.
How are you, obviously, you mentioned that there, how do you try to position the business in those sales appointments? Like, how did that change over time?
When we started putting more work into the systems and processes, and I genuinely believe like we're a premium brand because we care about our customers.
Yep.
Stuff goes wrong, it always does. Not going to sit there and tell a customer like, oh, nothing's ever going to go wrong.
Yep.
But what we say, when stuff does go wrong, we're going to fix it.
Yep. I think that as well with that, is as long as people have got the confidence that that will happen.
Yeah.
It's when something goes wrong and it doesn't get fixed quick enough, it then becomes an issue.
Yeah, exactly.
But other than that, kind of brand-wise, how have you felt that the exercise of building the brand has helped you basically to go into 7 figures and then gun for multiple 7 figures?
I think the brand's so important, and I didn't realise it in the early days, or I wouldn't have called it SD Plumbing and Heating.
Yep. Aye.
it's massively important. That's what people are buying. They're buying the brand.
Yep.
The brand is what's making them choose you over any of the other plumbers.
Yep.
So you need to make the brand really strong. And I think that's where personal brand comes in. We live in a day and age, people are buying from people. So they need to see faces to the business.
Yep.
I think that's so important. And that's one thing I learned, like working with you guys. Remember the first time I done the video, I was shaking like a leaf, sweating, like, it's just going out your comfort zone. And
Yep. You get used to it eventually, though.
yeah, and I'm not saying, like, I love it, but I just do it because I know.
You need to do it.
Yeah, even one thing I'm doing now is the videos I'm trying to do, like speaking into the camera.
The YouTube, I watched one of your YouTube ones as well.
Yeah, I absolutely hate it.
Aye.
My mates all rip me in the group chat, stuff like that. But like what I say to them is like, you're not my customers.
Yep.
I'm trying to build a brand, build a business. If you want to laugh, like crack on. So you just need to put that to the side and get your vision straight, I think.
Yep. Makes sense. And do you feel like you've made any kind of big mistakes at that £1 million mark?
Not probably getting an office quick enough and our premises.
Just in the sense of getting the team together.
So we were still working in the spare room in my house till last year. And the missus is like, this is no good. Like, all the guys are coming to the house.
what point was it? Was you doing like £1 million at this point?
It was only a year ago. a year ago, I was working in the spare room.
Why do you think you never got an office? Because
overheads. I was just I can't afford an office.
Or was it that you never knew that you could afford an office?
Yeah, exactly. It's just I've always been quite reserved about overheads. I never wanted to be that company that had loads of overheads.
Yep.
And folded. So I was always quite reserved about doing things like that. I would get a new van, I'd hire a new engineer, but any back end staff or like an office or any sort of overhead, I was really like, I don't need that. So we were working in the spare room still. The missus came in, pregnant at the time, and started putting paint samples on the wall of our office. She was like, this is a hint to go. So that's why we moved.
Yep.
Since we've moved, the business has just went bang. Because we're all in one place, we've managed to hire more office staff, bookkeepers, and all that sort of stuff. So that's just transformed the business as well.
What do you think that's done for like the culture you're trying to build?
Culture, we're actually struggling with culture at the moment.
Yep. In what sense?
In a sense, we're going from being Shaun and all his mates, everybody's pally, to being a business that's trying to scale to multi-million pound.
Yep.
And the people that have been there from the start are struggling with that a wee bit.
Yep.
So we're really trying to work on that. Having team meetings. We've got a big meeting next week with the whole team. So we're trying to like drive that down because I don't want to lose that. I think that's very important.
Yep. Obviously, you've been working closely with Jamie Taylor. How has he helped you with that leadership?
He was the one that told me to get the office actually.
Yep. To
start with, we went to it was like a networking thing at his office, and I just told him about the issues I was having. He was like, get an office. So I got the office, and the good thing with working with him, he'll deep dive into the business.
Yep.
A lot of coaches are quite generic. They'll give you like modules and stuff like that. So when I was going around like looking at coaches, they were all just saying like, oh, you need to do this, you need to do that. I'm like, I could read that in a book. I'm like, I need someone to like get into my business, open the doors and be like, this is an issue. So he was really good at that.
Yep.
And then each month he was just like, you need to do this, you need to do that, so on. Massive help.
Is that the first time you've had a coach?
Yeah.
Aye.
Yeah.
Yep. Do you wish you got a coach earlier?
100%.
Yep.
Like I went to trade mastermind, but again that's just generic, and like paying like 10 grand for.
It's a lot more than that now. Aye. No, but I guess for me as well, when I got a coach, it was my growth just went exponential.
That's the biggest year I've ever had.
But it was like having someone in my corner that would help me to step back and look at things and look at things logically. And
that you can just WhatsApp and be like, what is this issue? Can you help me? And they're like, no worries. And they've done it. Like we said earlier, they've already done it.
Yep. So do you feel there's any other key areas of the business that Jamie's really helped you to work on?
Getting a bookkeeper. That was massive. So we could understand our numbers, understand the profit and loss, etc.
Yep.
New accounting. Huge again. So I knew what was what. Operations manager.
Yep.
So each month we were doing all these things.
When did you bring the ops manager in?
Probably about summertime.
Yep. How did that feel when you obviously would have had a process of them embedding, but after that, how did that feel to have them in place?
Oh, unreal, brilliant. So it just means you can now, you're not spinning all the plates. You're still spinning a lot of them, but all these different people are handling all the stuff. And you're actually looking back like, they're doing such a better job than me. And that's the crazy thing about it.
Yep. Again, with that, do you wish you'd done that earlier?
Yeah,
Aye.
definitely. But I think that was my fear of having overheads.
Yep.
Like the back, like even now, hiring someone back end, I'm really like, I think about it so much because it's not bringing in direct revenue, but
Yep.
in the long term, it's crazy how much it grows your business. I would say actually hiring someone to the back end grows it more than it does just hiring another engineer.
Yep. Then obviously, just very recently, you've put a salesperson in place for the kitchens and bathrooms. I'm just interested in the fact. Just to go back to a point that you mentioned that you wouldn't have called it SD Plumbing and Heating if you were thinking about the brand.
Yeah.
Is that you thinking about it from the kind of like bathroom perspective potentially?
Just over the years, I've learned like you shouldn't call it after you. Just if you ever wanted to sell it or anything like that, and I think it just looks so much better having a name than SD Plumbing and Heating. It just makes it look like a smaller business, I think.
Yeah. But then again, there is that, but then there's also an element that you've also built a really good business that's got a really good reputation.
Yeah.
The reviews back it up. Aye, that's an interesting one. But then obviously, as I say, you brought in the salesperson. How has that? Have you sold anything through the salesperson yet?
I sold a few.
So how did it feel? Because again, this for me was the best feeling ever. When I got a lead, it was set, the appointment was sat, and it was sold, and I never touched it.
Yeah.
I was like, how did you feel when that happened?
Unreal. That was it.
It's crazy.
That was such a good feeling actually, because you're like, this can actually happen.
Yeah, because you always think it's so dependent on you, so at least at some point in that process to make that happen as well.
Yeah, definitely. And it's believing that as well, because you never believe that can happen, do you?
Aye. What bit did you feel was the most difficult to step back from the selling bit?
I loved selling. Like, I absolutely loved going in someone's house and like presenting the business to them.
Yep.
Then you can see they're buying into it, and you're like, oh, this is great, and I loved that. So I found that quite hard to step back from, actually. But we went out, I was training the sales guy, and I was looking at him after a few weeks, and he was doing exactly what I was asking of him, going through all the stuff, and it got to the point I was just feeling like a spare part in the person's house.
Because in actual fact, he can sell better than you.
Yeah. So I was like, this is great. Then, he's handling all the leads, and this was one of the bottlenecks last year, because I was trying to do everything. So I think it's going to work really, really well. Yep,
brilliant. And do you now that you've got that in place, do you feel like you had any? Because again, we work with a lot of businesses who quite often the last thing that the business owner passes off is the sales.
Yeah.
Because I think it's that communicating the brand, how they want people to see the business, how they want someone to represent the business. It's often the last thing that they step back from. And is there anything that you can identify that was potentially like limiting beliefs about putting someone in that position and always feeling like it needed to be you?
You always just think you're going to be better than everyone else, when in actual fact you're not.
Yep.
And I think that's a big thing to make yourself aware of. You're not the best at everything. There's people out there better than you. They're hard to find, don't get me wrong, like you need to really look for them, but there is people better than you. So you need to just bear that in mind and implement that into your business.
Yep. And I guess that as well, that's the key to like exponential growth, is finding someone that can do all the individual, because you're naturally as a business owner, you're going to be pretty good at everything.
Yeah.
But you might not necessarily be an expert in a specific area. So it's finding people in those pockets that can do it far better than you can.
Then you're just you're having meetings and reviewing it all and getting advice from them sometimes as well. Because you're not always right.
Yep.
That's massive for me as well. I've always been one to take advice and take constructive criticism. I think that's huge. Take it on board, digest it, and use the information to make the business better.
Yep. And obviously, you're gunning for multiple seven figures. What does 2026 look like now? You've got the salesperson in, you've got the ops manager in. What needs to happen? Like, do you feel like you've got all the pieces on the chessboard, or do you feel like you still need to add bits in?
Still need to add bits in. I'm now doing. I thought Jason, the sales guy, was going to take over all the sales, but I was doing like 40 sales a week.
Yep.
So there's no way he could, like. I didn't realise that people can't do, like, they're not willing to work and do as crazy hours as me and stuff. So he's only going to be taking on the bathroom side, which is crazy enough.
Yep.
So now I'm just doing the heating side. So in a couple of months, I'm hoping to take on a salesman or woman to do the heating side. So we still need more growth to get to where we want to be.
Yep. Do you feel that that's the main thing you need to get in place, or is there other things you need to get in place?
We
to
need more
hit
back
that?
end staff in the office as well. We're struggling in the office. The whole business is just at full capacity all the time.
Yep.
We take more staff on, we get busier. It's never ending, honestly.
Yep. I think that's the most difficult thing as well. Is obviously we spoke about how I was speaking to someone about team structure, scaling the agency, and it's how do you identify quicker when you need to hire?
Yeah.
Because if you leave it too late, it just stunts the growth and everything just grinds to a halt until you can actually find someone to bring in.
And it takes a while.
And you've also got the process of training them,
Yeah.
which could take
Yeah.
a month. It could take a couple of months to get them up to speed as
So
well.
really, I want to hire in March. I should really be advertising now
Yeah.
to eventually find that person. Then you're thinking, what if I find them too quick? But what I have found, when you find the right person, they seem to work.
Yeah.
I think for people, making that first hire is the scariest one.
Aye, because you're so scared to get it wrong as well.
Yeah.
Did you have any situations where you feel you personally kind of managed it wrong, or?
What, hiring?
Aye.
Yeah. In the early days, I was just desperate for anyone. Because you're just a one-man band.
You get so excited when somebody takes a wee bit off your plate as well.
Yeah. And no one, I would say, it's harder to attract good guys.
At that stage in time.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you're just jumping at the chance for anyone to work with you, but you really need to be a bit more careful with that.
Yep. And over time, obviously where you are now, does success to you look different from what it looked like when you first started out the business?
I wouldn't say I'm successful, though.
It depends how you define success, I guess.
I don't know what I'm actually striving for,
Nah.
to be honest. Yeah. I wouldn't see myself successful.
What do you value most?
Free time. And I don't have that yet, so
Yep.
need to keep pushing.
Goes hand in hand with money as well.
Exactly.
That's where it's difficult. Aye. And I just wanted to run through this as well, because I found this was quite interesting. So, if you could give one piece of advice to a trade or home improvement business owner at each stage, what would it be? The first one being at 250 grand. What's the main thing that you would do?
So that's kind of when you're just like cracking everything yourself and pushing on and stuff like that. I would say that's when you could probably think about making your first hire.
Yep.
And taking the pressure off you, because at that stage you're knocking your pan in. Like, that's when the hard work is. So
Yep.
take on the first hire, even if it is your mate or someone you know, just take that hire.
Yep.
And the relief you'll have will be unreal. Then get them a van or whatever it is they need, get them that, then I'll be like, wow, I can do double the work here. This is crazy.
Yep. 500 grand?
That's when you start needing the back end staff. I never done this for way past that, but I think if you got someone in the office at that stage and started organising everything, I personally think that's where the business scales, in the office, not out on the tools.
Yep. Especially, again, because predominantly you would have been doing boilers at that point.
Yeah, boilers.
It's like high volume as well. $1 million?
$1 million, that's where you need to really double down on getting the systems, processes, everything needs to be running like clockwork, and you need to be able to take on volume.
Yep.
If you can't take on the volume, if the volume comes in and you just crash, you're hitting stumbling blocks.
Yep. So what does the day-to-day look like for you now? Do you actively carve out time to work on the business? Like how does your time differ from maybe what it looked like last year or the year before?
Like a few years ago, I was just waking up and cracking on, but now my time's pretty structured. So a Tuesday, a Thursday, I'll go and do all the survey appointments. Fridays we have like management meetings and we review the week. We do follow-ups. Monday and Wednesday are just pure office days, just working on the business.
Yep.
So like I try and work on the business. Now I try and work on the business and the brand more than I work in it.
Yep.
And I think that's pushing it forward.
And what does that look like to give people context?
Doing stuff like this.
Yep.
Getting in front of the camera, networking, pushing the business just as hard as you possibly can, making sure the marketing's on point and stuff like that.
Yep. Do you try and get any time alone? Because what I struggle with sometimes is, yes, I'll allocate time to work on the business, but I'll always do better deep work if there's no anybody like anywhere close to me.
My office is an absolute nightmare. I've actually just got another office.
Did you get a new one? Because I remember
No, I'm still there, but we're
one.
just going to we've got two there, and we're going to take on another one so I can have my own office so I can shut the door.
Yep.
Because it's Shaun, and you're just getting dragged from pillar to post, and you don't actually get time to think. By the end of the day, I'm like, what did I actually do there?
How do you manage that? We have quite a unique relationship in here, me, Josh and Alan, where it's like we're getting shit done. Like if we're constantly speaking, we'll just call each other out on it.
Yeah.
So then it's like, how do you manage that?
So I'll just say, I'm going to sit here for a couple of hours.
Yep.
Don't annoy me.
Yep.
Just so you've got a list of tasks you need to get through. Then speak to me. If you've got anything, email me. That's what I say quite a lot. They'll email me and then you can deal with it when you get to it.
Yep.
Rather than just blurting stuff out and stuff like that, and have allocated time slots you speak to people.
Aye, that's key as well, is just allocating time slots where you're saying to people, look, these are the times in the day that you can ask me questions. But I think it's also about communicating to them the reason why you're can't be interrupted.
Aye.
It's not that you're just being antisocial, it's like you need that time
100%.
alone to drive the business forward and make sure that you're also, because again, you're responsible for your team as well.
I think, like you said, having time on your own. So I think when I get this office myself, people can come and speak to me, but it's not going to just be like, Shaun, and ask me loads of questions. They'll need to get up and come through, and I can be like, I'm busy.
Are you going to get a separate office?
Yeah.
Aye.
I can shut the door.
Yep.
And actually just think, because you need to really think about the next steps and what you're going to do and how to fix the problems. And we find you'll have a problem, you'll fix it, but it's not actually the right fix.
Yep.
So then you're actually worse off than you were before, so you need to then try and fix it again. Mm-hmm. And it can get really frustrating for the staff as well. We're having
especially with systems and processes as well.
Like one of the boys was like, change again. You're actually changing it again. And it's like, well, this isn't working.
What are they referring to?
We're having a real problem ordering parts at the moment. Mm-hmm. Because before we were sending it all to the merchants, the volume was too much for the merchants. They were mucking up. So like, we'll bring it in-house. We can't handle it. So
just in what sense, like the organisation of the parts when they come in?
It's the maintenance side, and I'm starting to wonder if a maintenance model is scalable.
Yep.
Past this 1.5 million mark. Mm-hmm. Maintenance is great, high profit, but high volume. How scalable is that?
What does a maintenance job, when you say maintenance, are you talking maintenance on a boiler, or are you talking maintenance on a big heating system?
Maintenance on a boiler, changing taps, things like that.
Yeah. Do you feel like you'd rather switch the focus to just boiler installs?
Bigger jobs, I think that's how, to be a bigger business, I don't think you can do smaller maintenance work.
Yeah. Because I guess it's like when you crunch your overheads and that, it's like how high are the margins? The margins might be alright, but then it's like the volume of it is
like
that you need to do to
10
get
jobs
that.
a day to get when you can
the same
do
as a
one
boiler
job.
install. Aye.
Exactly.
Less to organise as well. Mm-hmm. So it's like, yes, you might end up with the same amount of money, but it's like how many headaches
how much back end do you need to get that margin? So I think we need to focus on the bigger jobs 100%.
Yep. Makes sense. And if you had to start again tomorrow, if you went back to zero, what do you feel is the main thing you'd have done differently to get to this point quicker.
Systems, processes. I think that's the main thing.
Yep.
Implementing that from the start and have a good accountant.
Yep.
CRM
The
system.
accountant one's interesting because we every client I speak to, mate, it's like, I'll be like, what does your accountant do for you? Oh, they just do the stuff at the end of the year.
Aye.
And I heard that before as well, but I've got an accountant through
you get the
my
management
network now.
accounts.
And it's like every month I get a breakdown of, well, this is your anticipated corporation tax bill.
Yeah.
This is your anticipated VAT bill. So again, you can have someone in the office putting that aside on another account, so the cash is always there. But
No brainer.
it's so many accountants, mate. It's just a tick the box exercise.
I know.
And finally, mate, what's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
The best piece of advice was from that call when she said, get some help. There's help out there. And I think that's the main thing. If you feel stuck, you feel like you're struggling, don't bury your head in the sand. Look to get help, even if you have to pay for it. Like, Don't think, oh, I'm paying for it. So what? Just pay for it and get the advice and implement it, and that'll help.
Perfect. Amazing, mate. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Cheers, mate.